Bonsoir, good evening， 大家晚上好，非常感谢大家有抽出这样的时间来听我这样的一个关于中国加拿大研究的一个话题。刚才没开始之前，下面有几位观众也跟我有一些交流，我从他们这个交流中呢 I really have learned a lot. You really get my how to say, eyes zoomed out. Thank you very much. I think this talk will be divided into 3 parts. The first part, where I will just talk about the Canadian studies in China. And the second part, I will cover the people-to-people relations just between the 2 Cs. I refer to Cs means Canada and China. And the third part is a question and answer, maybe just 20 minutes or so. Yeah. So let me just start it since time is so limited here. Okay. The first part, I will just start from the establishment of the People's Republic of China, because before that day, very, very few papers about the Canada studies. So I'd better just start from 1949. That won't be easy for me. And also, during the first period of time, let me just look at it here, and it's very limited research and institutes. In 1950s, there are only just 15 papers published in the newspaper, and also just concerning Canadian studies. And in 1960s, only just 17 papers. But in the 1970s, is 111 rising up. And this statistic is from the paper contributed by our first president of the Association for Canadian Studies, when he wrote about it when the association was established for 20 years. This is the data from this professor. And the second period is early development. I just start at 1970s because on October 13th and 1970, the 2 sides established the official diplomatic relations. And then we have got some support, and especially a great sum of money and foreign aid from CIDR. CIDR refers to the Canadian International Development Agent. Now, we call it CIDR. We got a lot of support just from CIDR, and then the studies at China just rise up. And especially after the 1973, we, 2 sides, established a contract about the CCSEP. It means Canada-China Scholar Exchange Program. The first is at the student level, but in the year of 1989, it changed into scholars. The first the student and the second scholar. And the abbreviation for it is still CCSEP. And why I just stop at 1989 is just everyone knows there is a great event happened in China. It is, we call it is June 4th, and in Canada, you may call it Qian massacre. I know that, and even some scholars just wrote a book about quelling the people. And this is by a very famous professor, Tim Brooke. I think Tim Brooke also gave a talk here, just a dialogue here, and he talked something about that. He is a very famous professor. And also, he got CCSEP just at the first year of 1973. Yeah. And also, the third phrase is green stage. You know, when the Tiananmen issue happened, Canadians really felt frustrated. And when I know it's Professor Ruth, and we'll show her picture here. And at that time, she was the head of the session of exchange and I could not remember exactly the academic affairs. She was the head at that time between 1989 and 1991, 2 years. She, with her team, just visited almost 20 centers. And even sometimes she, with his team, lived on the campus. She organized a lot of seminars and workshops. And also very interesting thing is that she carried a shopping bag with US dollars in it, and encouraged all the centers, the 20 centers all around all around China, asked them to start some Canadian studies, and send them, use the money, send them to Canada for further studies, to learn Canadian justice, to learn Canadian democracy, and to learn Canadian these women rights and something, and also the human rights. Yeah, and under her encouragement, there is a flash period. That's I called it the flash stage. With all the funds from the post I refer to the Embassy of Canada in Beijing, with such a great sum of money, and especially the publishing fund, a lot of professors working at the centers have edited or written a lot of books and get them published. And also a lot of academic papers published during that time. So that's the reason why I called it a flourish stage. But after 2012, why I just give the time 2012 here, because Harper declared during his second visit to China, he declared that Canada terminated the CEDA foreign aid. Yeah, the foreign, do not call it foreign, it's developing aid, because first, in the first stage, before 1983, China did not accept the concept of foreign aid. Then CEDA just call it just only kind of academic aid. But after 1983, China singularized Canada that we could accept the developing aid. Then for 30 years, CEDA just gave China we called it developing aid to China, not only to the centers and also to the remote places, schools, to help these poor people to go to school, and even help the women to gain their freedom and equality. And then after the termination of CEDA and also some fund from ICSC. ICSC is the International Council of Canadian Studies. The headquarters, I think now is just at the York University. And there is a program is called Understanding Canada. And there are a lot of funds for programs there, such as the publishing fund, postdoctoral fund, and the student fund. And I could not list all, but anyway, there are a lot of funds for all the world scholars whose research field is Canadian studies, and especially for China, China got some special award. It's called a Special Award for Young People. And every year, 15 young scholars could could go to Canada with such a fund. We really appreciate all this help from Canadian side. We never forget. We scholars in China never forget all this. So after that period, we Chinese just support ourselves because everyone knows that in 2012, China just put forward one belt, one road, one belt, right? And also the area studies just stirred up in China. So the Ministry of Education, they just give a lot of money to the centers, not only to Canadian centers, and also the centers for the area studies. So we got the fund from our China part. And then at that time, I think all the centers in China are getting matured. So there is a very stable development in China. Let's move to the next. And now we have the 41 plus 1. Why I plus 1? This one is a quasi-center. It's because it is, until now, is not approved by the university. But this center is very active. And from north to the south, I better just say Harbin Institute of Technology. To the south, I better just say Hainan University. Also there is a center there. And east to the west, if I say Shandong is east, and Shandong University, there is one center, very famous and well-established. And to the west, I better stop at Nanzhou University there. But unfortunately, with some the senior scholars retired, and some well-established scholars transferred to the other universities because Nanzhou, this area is a bit remote places. And also the pollution is, even now, is very serious. So some scholars just prefer live there. So this center at Nanzhou University is shrinking, even no one there now. And also there are 5 funding centers. Why I say 5 fundings? Because the Association for Canadian Studies in China was established in 1984. And these 5 centers, I may say universities, they just work together to put forward the initiative to just establish the Association for Canadian Studies in China. And CCSEP here I refer to Sichuan International Studies University. And the professor is also the professor who just first raised this initiative is our first president for the association. His name is, let me just check it, his name. Sometimes I forgot it. It's Nan Renzhe. He passed away. And he just was the first president. And also the second is Wuhan University. Wuhan University, actually in 1964, Wuhan University, there is Institute for North America Economics and Economics Research, and Canada Studies is included there. So the Wuhan University was included into the funding center there. And another is Peking University. And Peking University, there is a very famous professor who is called Zhang Guanyao. He also passed away. He was the first ranking professor of China in French. We Chinese call it is 一级法语教授. It's very few professors could get the first ranking professor. But he worse. And you see, he was born in Vietnam, Saigon, so he spoke French quite well. His most contribution, his splendid, I should say this, or excellent contribution from him is that in July 1990, only 1 year after the Tiananmen issue, you know, the two sides' relationship was really, really, really bad. But this professor just said, we can just have our biannual conference, because we say when we have the first conference of the for Canadian studies in China, we just decide we will have a conference biannually, 每2年1次. So this time is just the Peking. Peking was the hoster. So he was very brave to host such a conference. And even he invited more than 10 scholars from all around the world, because exactly that year, the ICSC had an international conference in Beijing. So he invited all these international scholars to join them for the biannual conference there. This is a breakthrough in China after the Tiananmen issue. So he was elected to president later. And also the Chinese Academy of Social Science, we often call it CASS. And this is a very big institute, including a lot of centers and research programs there. And there are 2 centers, Canadian studies centers there, but both are very active during that time. And also the last is GUFC is Guangzhou 外国语学院. At that time, it is called 广州外国语学院, yes, Guangzhou College of Language Studies, because there is a Quebec studies there. That's the reason why this university also is included in the funding centers there. And also, at the present time, 12 centers, active centers there, only 12. Why I said 12? Because with the senior professors passed away or transferred to the others, and some centers really, really shrink. If there are some uncertainties happened there, and I may say turbulence happened there, then some centers just shrink. So only 12 current active centers. And the first is the Harbin Institute of Technology. Yeah, it's really good, yeah, very active, and just the research focus is on Canadian literature. Yeah. And the second is Inter-Mongolia University. And even now it's very active because they are focusing on the minority studies there and multicultural. And the third is Peking University, you know that. And the fourth one is the Beijing Foreign Language Studies University, Beijing 外国语大学. And even now there is a center, is state-funded center. We often call it Track 2 centers. And the CASS, you know that. And the next is Nankai University. This, I call it is a flagship center. I will talk it later. And Wuhan University, I just mentioned it earlier, and moved to the Sichuan University because in the past, Sichuan welcomed a lot of Canadian missionaries there. So Sichuan University is very famous for its missionary studies there. And also CCU, you know CCU, and next is Nanjing Normal University is also famous for its Canadian literature studies there, and even there are a lot of books about the famous writers, especially female writers in Canada, like Margaret Atwood. Yeah, there are some scholars doing this kind of research. And next, the CCO is my home university is called Shanghai International Studies University. There is an anecdote here. We often call our CCO SISU, but just Sichuan 外国语学院, they are very so smart. They get this logo, how to say, registered first. So we could not use CCO, but SH. Then the two universities talked and reached an agreement that Shanghai, you can also use CCO, but if the two universities are just presented the same university, better just the CCO and the CCO. Okay. So the last is Guangzhou University of Foreign Studies. And let's move to the next, the historic review of the centers. And just as I said just now, and the state-funded center is 百外, Beijing 外国语大学. The second is 广外. And we often call them track 2 center at university. After the 2011 and the area studies just rise up in China. And the Ministry of Education just selected some university or some centers for some special fund from the ministry. And the flagship centers, I would say Nankai University. And Nankai University, there are 4 generations scholars. They are totally devoted to Canadian studies. And even now, the 4th generation is still focusing on Canadian studies. And also this center is the first to start the Ph.D. program in China, and our university is the second. And CASS, you know that, and also Peking U and CSU, our university, and the historical prestige and leading center is CSU, I said, the Sichuan University. When the professor, Professor Nan passed away, it seems it's shrink a bit, and now it's re-rising now. And the next is Tianjin Normal University, and also with the senior professor retired, shrink. And the third one is Hubei Normal University, and also a professor is called Liu Guangtai, very focused on Canadian history and also Canadian diplomatic studies. And he is retired, sharing too. And Shandong University, there are 2 presidents from that center, but also with these senior professors retired and all passed away. This center shrinks too. And in the Mongolia University, past very active, but now, and it's kind of, I'd better say, re-rising now because with the second generation. Yeah, and also I know the director of this center, the professor is just doing some research at the University of Toronto. And then the re-rising centers include the CCU and SCU, and means the Sichuan University. Yeah, and exactly the Sichuan University is sometimes sponsored by some universities just in Canada. They have a very good joint program there, because some Michikids, I think the Michikids or the second generation of Michikids passed away, but the third generation of Michikids are still active. So there are some joint programs with Sichuan University. And this is Fujian Normal University because the Nankai University, some graduate students from Nankai University, they are now working at Fujian Normal University. They started the center there and very active, and they are the generation of this generation, just the generation. I mean, this better say this young guy was born in 1980s, very young, very very promising. And another is, I should say, Hunan University of Technology and Business. That's the one I said 41 plus 1, that one refers to this, is a quasi-center. The director graduated from Calgary and got a PhD there, PhD in education. She is very active and devoted to Canadian studies. And then now I want to show you some publications there. The first, I'd better show you the two because this is the track two books. And one is by Guang Wei, one is by Bai Wei. It's a kind of working paper, or say the yellow book. And the blue one is just already 9 books, and the white one is 8 altogether until now. And this Maple series of books is just come out immediately after the Qian issue, sponsored by the Canadian side. So a lot of books just got published during that time. And also these just these books is totally is more than 10. And I could not find that it did that one, so I just list 9 one here. And this is by the Beijing University. And the other 3, just this publishing fee is paid by the Beijing University. The glimpse of Canada actually is just sponsored by the Canadian side. And also the books by on Canadian missionaries. And I want to show the big one is just by Sichuan University, talking about the Canadian missionaries in Sichuan province, and also in Leshan and in Chengdu, etc. And also some series of books of Canada, on Canada and the Canadians get published late 1990s and also early 2000. And some series, Search for Canada series, it is really sponsored by the CEDAR. And scholars from CASS just have done a great field studies in Canada. Even they just they were working like observers, even in the House of Commons, and they just observe how democracy operates in Canada. So when they all come back, they just produced a lot of books, some not written out but edited. But anyway, it's a kind of book for students to read and also for the public to know something about Canada. And also Canada Horizon series, and you could see that we even touched you could see the democracy and the literature and even the jazz. Yeah, you see that touched every area, almost every area of Canada, so that China could get a full picture of Canada. All this is under the encouragement of the Post, and because they give a lot of money there. And these books just get published very recently, sponsored by our university, not by the outside. And these are just books about the Canada as middle power. And I especially just pick out the Nankai for a special emphasis. And you could see the first book and the Canada, the general history, the short history of Canada is by the first generation of Nankai, is Professor Zhang. He passed away. And the second generation just produced the books about Canada and the U.S. relations. And the third generation, who also is the third generation, Professor Fu, is also the first person to discuss the fur trade in Canada. And also he is the first Ph.D. whose dissertation is located at Canadian fur trade in 2000. Sorry. And the yellow one is the fourth generation graduate from Nankai University and talk about Trudeau's foreign aid or something like that. And the publications about Quebec study, also we have some centers just cover the Quebec studies. The Quebec studies, our university have there is Quebec studies at our university. And also I mentioned the Beijing University that, I mentioned that, and also some professor just at the Guangzhou University, and also from Beijing University is Wang Zhu. And also one professor is from Sichuan 外国语大学, and is Professor Liu. And they wrote a lot of books about Quebec. I only just pick some of them for showed here. And also publications on female writers here. And I purposely pick out Annis Menlo because you are very familiar with the person. And this lady just got his Nobel Prize in 2013. I just want to tell you a very touching story here. And when Annis Menlo got his Nobel Prize, a reader in China heard the news because this reader is very, how to say, he likes Menlo's short stories very much. So she wrote a letter to Menlo and said, I want to donate some money to you. And then she donated a big sum of money. I don't know exactly how much it is because she just translated this money to the publisher house and the publisher in China, and the publisher just transferred the money to Alice. She just told the publisher, do not tell anyone my name, who I am, and also the sum of money. And you can see people-to-people relations in China is also really, really touching, beyond your imagination. You see that? So we don't know until the last year the publisher told me that. So when the deputy director from our center, Professor Zhou Yi, wrote 2 books about Annis Menlo. And also one professor just from Nanjing Normal University wrote some books about the Margaret Atwoods. And most of these 2 writers' short stories or books translate into Chinese. And there is numerous readers in China love their short stories. I tell you a story, or another story is just last August 27, we had a book launch about my fellow Professor Zhou Yi. We had a book launch for her, and this is a kind of activity just is organized by the bookstore, not by our center, and not by the Consular General in Shanghai. So we have 4 women there discussing about the book launch there. And I could see there are a lot of boys and the young guys sitting there. Very interesting. And they raised some very interesting questions there. So you could see a lot of readers in China who loves their short stories and books. And also, I just list some books here, and all in Chinese. I don't want to translate it into English because it is, I'm told that it's a bilingual talk, so better just leave the Chinese here. And let's just move to the next, and because there are a lot of there, it's here just only some of them, not the whole. And also some just discuss about the law, culture, education, and language there. And also the media, and even media, literature, and even the welfare, and also the native people in Canada. And why I just give the last 2 in white, because, and the first white is the first book about Canada-China relations in the 20s. But the author is Canadian-Chinese. But now he is teaching at the East China Normal University. So I just give his name in white. And then the second also is a Chinese Canadian, is Cao Huhua. I think he is teaching at Ottawa University. Also, he wrote a book about the two sides relations. So the two books just in white. And also there are some programs and lectures and courses on Canada. As I said before, we have the Ph.D. program in China, and especially at the universities. And we just start this PhD program covering the foreign affairs and history and literature, law, Quebec studies, U.S.-Canada relations, Canada-China relations, and peacekeeping, even peacekeeping in China. Because even now, China and Canada has some joint program in peacekeeping. Because we are not very experienced in peacekeeping, but Canada is. Canada is very experienced in peacekeeping, but recently they do not do such a thing. We Chinese just want to do more in the field of peacekeeping. So we want to learn more from Canada side. And Canada is willing to train Chinese here in this field. And also the second is the courses. We have some courses and lectures, but some courses are optional, or are optional, not the compulsory. So it is optional. You can choose it or not. And about the Canadian history. And also we have the BA courses, the BA, MA, and also PhD programs. And especially we have some project is called Wisdom Tree MOOC, and you can just take the course online. And you see that is, I think, let me just check it, and I think this MOOC is, show this, actually, this program is organized by Fudan University, but especially a professor from Queen's University is Professor Zhang. He is responsible for this program. And almost there, it is said the number of the students who have taken this course online is over 10,000 and from 60 universities. They took the course online. Very good course. And also we have a lot of joint PhD program. For example, my PhD students, they just get the joint supervisor at the University of Toronto, and also at UBC, and even just at the regional college. Yes, we have this joint program, but some sponsored by our university, or some by the state, the state, I mean the 国家留纪委. If you are succeeded in applying for that, you can get the fund. So there are a lot of joint programs, even the MA program. Also, we have the program with the University of Ottawa there. A lot of, as far as I know, a lot of other universities, they have joint programs with different universities in Canada. So that's the people-to-people ties. You could see that whether you see it or not, it's there. And now let's just jump to the summary. And now Sino-Canada diplomatic relations paves the way for Canada studies in China. And the CCSEP, because this year is the 50th anniversary of CCSEP, that's the reason why I picked CCSEP for special emphasis. CCSEP set up in 1973, funds both Canada and Chinese students and scholars to China or Canada for further studies, while trains more Canadian or Chinese scholars and experts in many subjects of Canada or China studies. And also CETA foreign aids to China together with ICCS Understanding Canada programs have helped the mutual understanding of the two peoples. And the turbulences happened to political relations between two states. Two states refers to Canada and China. And have affected, of course, they affected Canadian studies in China, but never stop it. Yeah, we are moving on. Publications and public lectures courses about Canada promote the mutual understanding of two peoples and nudge the two sides' political relations to develop positively. And the last, I want to tell you the truth. And the influences of the Chinese scholars of Canadian studies, more than 80% of ordinary people, as well as 98% of Canadian studies scholars have positive image of Canada. This is the truth. Why? Why we have such a good image of Canada? I will move to the second part. The second part is about the people-to-people ties between two states. And also, I will just touch only a bit about the history before the establishment of People's Republic of China. So that's the first phrase I will say. Early stage is the trade, what kind of trade? Ginseng and a sea outer fur, and also the silk and something like that. Silk is just from China to Canada. And also the missionary connections versus coolie. And we Chinese first touched the Canada. Most of them just worked as coolie. This is a kind of coolie trade. And during the Cold War period, we have the wheat trade. And also during that time, very limited people-to-people ties. But when the two sides established the diplomatic relations, the spacious relationship, and this is called by an ambassador from China side. He just said this period of time is called a special relation, not only good but excellent. And from the Canadian side, the Canadian scholars called it Romanticism age. Romanticism age. And from China favor to China fear. This is also true. From favor to fear. Why fear? Tiananmen issue happened. And I will just mention the CCSEP and all CETA, and also I will tell you, and also 10,000 Chinese students came to Canada for further studies there or visited there. Some got degrees from Canadian universities. And during that period of time, only 700 ordinary Canadian people in China, and the 80 just they are doing some diplomatic work, working with the consular or the post. And the re-engagement is starting from 1994. Why I just located at this special time? Because almost for 4 years, because Canada side just issued their sanction against Canada. But how to break it? Break this kind of sanction, I will talk it later. And then, this is I think this 10 years is the year of the Qian period, for 10 years. And we have the Team Canada, and also 10 years of golden age. And then we moved to the very recent half years, almost 9 years. The first 3 years very cold, but the trade is still there. The political relations is very cold, but the trade is warm. When the political relationship is is warmer, and then the trade is heated. Yeah. And also during that time, during that time, Haber also declared in his second visit to China that he welcomed 100,000 students exchange program. I think until now, from China side, the international students, the Chinese students exceeding the number, but not so many from the Canadian side. Maybe just only 500 or 400, not so many. And also each side decide to have the 10-year visa for visitors. And then a sudden rise of a golden age is just the PM Justin Trudeau, and he is still your prime minister. And but is it a flash in the pan? There is a question here. And then we have the 2 year of 2018, and delink, this is very important, is a delink human rights just with trade. But after Tiananmen issue, the Canadian side decided to link human rights with trade. But now, the Trudeau just publicly declared that delink human rights with trade. And then we move to the Sino-Canadian political relations field down it's after the 3 M's. Everyone knows the 3 M's there. And even now, the two-sided relationship is what it is. And you see, during this is when is the COVID-19 3 M's issue and COVID-19 and some other negative things happened there. People-to-people ties really shrink a bit. Yeah, I'm so lucky I'm here. So this is the Chinese. If someone just prefer Chinese, I just give the Chinese here. And it's easy for you to understand the 正冷经热, 正温经更热, and that's the Chinese for it. Okay, I want to mention a bit about the second 晚清民初时期. And this is 中加民间关系为主导啊，还是这段时间还是以中加民间关系为主导。实际上在早期的时候，中加关系是由民间关系带动官方关系的，也就是说中加关系是民间关系 first, official relations second. But after the establishment of the People's Republic of China, it seems official relations first, and the people-to-people ties second. And then I will just say about, because the two sides trade relations starts at Jinsen, and they just founded the Jinsen in Quebec area, I think, because it's a long story. It's during the Ming Dynasty. A lot of Chinese prefer ginseng because I think they think ginseng will just make them healthy. But when Qing Dynasty came to power, they don't want to have the ginseng trade because ginseng just grew up in Changbaishan, you know that, and Changbaishan 是清朝的他们的发源地, so they don't want people to dig the ginseng there. 中国人讲要把它隆起，把它根把它挖掘了。So they just forbidden the ginseng trade. Then in China market, you know, they are short of ginseng. So some missionaries just wrote some papers and back to England. I think this is English missionary and wrote a paper about the ginseng and draw the picture of the ginseng there and get it published. Then some Canadian mission just in Quebec read this read this report, and he look at the picture and say, "Oh, it seems I have seen this in Quebec." So he asked the native people to help him to find this ginseng. Yes, they did find it. So the ginseng trade from Quebec started. But later, immediately disappeared, just only a couple of dozens of years. The ginseng from Quebec disappeared. Why? Because some businessmen just want to make a quick money. So they do not put the ginseng to shine, naturally dried up, but just put it on the fire and get it dried. So the nutrition of the ginseng is not so good. When people just found the ginseng in Wisconsin, so Wisconsin's ginseng replaced the ginseng from Quebec. And then another is just the sea outer skin. If you touch it, very soft and warm and smooth. So some rich people prefer that for their overcoat or something like that. So they just also have the sea outer skin, we call it the fur trade. And then they fought the silk from China, and also pottery, and also tea. And they just, it's the 13行. If someone just is from Guangzhou, you may know that 13行, the 13 port, the ships just pulled over there, and then they trade there. And this, I want to mention the missionaries. In fact, before 1988, a lot of Canadian missionaries came to China, but they were not sent by Canada part, because before 1867, Canada was not an independent country. And after that is only dominion of Canada, and their foreign rights and also military rights was still in Britain. Until 1931, they have got the foreign affairs right back, so that Canada has exercised their foreign powers, 外交的权利，独立外交权利. And only in 1982, when Canada issued the second chapter, constitutional chapter, is called 权利法案, rights. They got the right to revise the chapter back from the Britain. So some people said Canada got his independence immediately after 1982, not 1867, because after that Canada do not have the military right and all independent military right and also foreign right. That's a scholar's debate. Of course, Canada got its independence in the year of 1867. And then these two books are just about the Canadian missionary in China. And you look at this, especially during that time, there are 3 zones for the Canadian missionaries. The first is called West China Mission, the Huaxi Chai Hui, and the headquarters is in Chengdu. And also the next is the Northern Henan, is called Yubei. Yubei Chai Hui, Northern Henan Mission. And the third is called Hualan South China Mission, Hualan Chai Hui. And even Taiwan is included in Hualan Chai Hui. And you could see that why I give the Shanghai is a yellow color there, because Shanghai is the headquarters for these missionaries. If everyone knows in the year of 1900, the Boxing movement happened, and the massacre on the missionaries is so terrible. And if such a thing happens, the missionaries will just go to Shanghai, and then they will board on the ship and sail away. And even they just not sail back to their countries, but sometimes they stay at the public sea, and everything is okay, then they will sail back and continue their missionary work there. So if you want to get more information, I suggest you to read these two books. And also, I want to mention this, if someone is from Taiwan, maybe you know something about George McCain, Ma Jie. A friend of mine is from Taiwan. He told me that I said it should be read Xie, but he told me it's Jie, because the Taiwan people read it Jie, Ma Jie. And Ma Jie is the first person to come to China, but before the 1888. He is an individual all by himself. He went to China is in the year of 1870 and sent by Presbyterian Church. He just worked in Taiwan. And even now there's more than 6 hospitals in memory of McKay there. And also I want to mention Ma Ling is McKean, and also the Nanjing Gulou Hospital is very close to the Nanjing University. I think you know that. And it's just this hospital was just built up by Ma Ling, and also the Luo Guangpu, a very famous person. I'm very touched by Robert McNeil is because he trained a lot of medical workers. And even we Chinese, during the Great Cultural Revolution, we know some medical workers just do some medical work, and we call it barefoot doctors. And Robert just doing things like that. He trained a lot of medical workers, and I hope you notice that number. And these young doctors or workers, and then serve how many? 1.5 million Chinese poor people. They worked in very remote places and helped these poor people. Are you touched? Are you moved? Do you think Chinese will forget all this? No, we will never. We always tell our students, if you forget the past, you forget yourself. And then we just moved to the Qian. Qian graduated from Queen's University. For 3 generations of his family, they served Chinese until 1951, because China has a kind of foreign policy is called clean the room and reset the stone. 打扫房间，重启炉灶. So all the missionaries were moved out of China mainland. And some just moved to Hong Kong, some moved to Taiwan. They're still there, when they moved to there, they still serve the Chinese people. And Qian, his 3rd generation, just moved to Hong Kong and still worked there until his grandsons or daughters retired there. You could say that. And even Sichuan people called Qian, he is Sichuan Dr. Basing. If you say that a lot about Dr. Basing, I think Qian is the Dr. Basing in Sichuan. So if you say 四川白求恩，四川人、成都人就会告诉你 Qian. And Dr. Basing, you know quite well. But here, I just want to tell you a very interesting story. You know, in the year of 1969, Canada is the active part to start the two sides talk because the B.L. Trudeau said he won't just establish the two sides diplomatic relations. So they started the first talk with China side, but this talk happened in Sweden. Happened in Sweden, in the capital of Sweden. The capital is called what? 瑞典首都 is called what? 斯德哥尔摩, right? Yeah. So the talk is there. Before they just, the two sides start talk, the Canadian side just showed a documentary film of Dr. Bassim. Suddenly the Chinese diplomats feel very excited. And it's a way to warm the talk. Then the two sides talked very peacefully, and it's a really good start. Interesting story there. And then I will mention the Dr. James Menzies, and he is the first person to find the oral or wrinkle bones inscription. He was not the first person, but he was the first person to connect wrinkle bones with Yingxu in Henan province. So that's his contribution. And also the Dr. David Black, he also one of the Peking men discovered, because 他的专业是解剖学. He was working with Peking Union Hospital as I don't know how to say 解剖学 doctor. So he knows how to do. When they found some fossils there near the Beijing Zhoukou, and he tested and to find out this is the teeth. The fossil is the teeth. So they named it the Peking man, 北京人. And also the etiquette, you know, in China, the people, not the general people, the politicians and also the other people, they know that they know the, and also especially the Strand people know etiquette quite well because he contributed a lot to the education there. And also Renmin Daily also said that he is the Chinese people's old friend. When he was died in the year of 1993, in his will, he hoped that his ash will could be thrown into the Yangtze River near Sichuan. And next year, we did according to his will, yeah. And Chester Running is, he was born just in Fancheng near Wuhan. He speaks a very Fancheng Chinese. 他说的是一口的繁城的中国话。And he is a real Mishkitz, and he devoted the whole life for the normalization of the two sides. And even people said that he was born for the two sides relationship. And Elizabeth Creek, I purposely mentioned that because a few days ago, she passed away at the age of 108. And he devoted her life to I'd better say the Beijing University, Beijing Foreign Languages University. Yeah, she was one of the founding mother there. And the sixth generation of her family are living, serving in China. And other well-known missionaries, they are very famous here. I'd better just give you a suggestion to refer to the dissertation written by a Canadian student who just went to Fulbright for I think it's for his, I don't know him or her, but her name sounds just like a boy, for his Ph.D. program. So his presentation is about the modern China the modern China Canadian missionary. I think this is really good because he developed his dissertation or thesis most, I should say, all on the United Church's documents. So if you want to just get the first materials or the real documents, I think better refer to this book because this is the first-handed material built up. This book is built up on the first-handed materials. And this, when I just said all this about the Canadians in China, I think I'd better just mention a bit about the Chinese people to just move to Canada. I will not mention the recent immigrants from China. So the early Chinese is just worked as laborers in Canada, just from late part of 19th century. I think it's just 1879, late 1879, and 1882. This is organized and contract, I should say, the contract cheap labors, so they are called coolie trade. And why this happened? Because in the first part of 19th century, with the independence of the countries in the South America, so the UK just declared to abolish the black slavery. So the whole world market was shocked of the laborers, the cheap laborers. That's the reason why Canada just signed some contract with the Chinese government and have the coolie trade there. So some people say the 15,000, some say just the 17,000. I think I just give you a suggestion to refer to the 4 books. And also the book launch, I think, also happened here, is by Ding Guo and the other 2 famous writers there. And you can see the photo, the next day is a gold digger. But these Chinese, most of them are not from, sometimes forget my tense here. I may use the wrong tense here. I think most of them, they are not from China mainland, they are from California. Because when Fraser Valley or river, there's some gold discovered there, and they heard the news there, they just came from California. Because California's gold is totally 全部都挖掘完了，所以这些中国的这种挖金子的人就往上来到了加拿大的Fraser River 来挖金子。You can see the photo. And also another is the photo of the Canadian Chinese Museum, I think is the right term for that. This photo I should credit to Dr. Zhang, is Kenty Zhang. He thanks for his permit for me to use this photo. And see that this, and why I mentioned these Chinese neighbors, why? Because also there also happened some people-to-people ties. Why just in Europe? Because I should say, the head of these Chinese laborers is from Canada. Because these Canadians knows how to speak Chinese, how to speak French, and also English. So their head just Canadians. So that's also another channel to get connected. And also come to the summary. Let me just check the time. Okay. Excuse me. So let me just jump to the summary one. And during that time, the People's Ties First official relations letter 是民间关系在前，官方关系在后的。Maybe you have noticed that I did not mention anything about the official relationship between Canada and the Republic of China, because this is not my focus. Maybe that's another subject for another talk. So motivations is for both sides is economic driven. I refer to the ginseng and also the coolie trade is economy driven, and the mission driven is only on Canadian side. And the girls make money for both sides, for the tradesmen, and also the both sides just want to return, even the coolie trade and these cheaper Chinese cheap laborers, they want to make money and then return. Some return, but some not. And also some goals is for missionaries to get Chinese converted to God. And the populations, the more Chinese in Canada and a few Canadians in China. Before 1949, it is estimated that 1,000 Canadians in China. The education, less even illiterate Chinese. They don't know how to read. Well-educated, but on Canadian side, well-educated Canadians, you know, there are a lot of medical missionaries, and also some specialists there. And the professions, the coolie or chiller laborers, but Canada is well-trained professional persons in the influence. Now on China side, very limited and not well-trained. And also, you know, in 1923, Canada just issued an act of exclusion, Exclusion Act of Chinese in 1923. And this year is 100th anniversary of that act. And for the Canada side, they really removed some Chinese mindset by education, publication, and then medical services there. So this is the summary for the first period of time. And then move to the second period. And you know, in the 1950s, and after the Great Leap Forward, China suddenly fell into 3-year-long famine. And especially in Anhui, Sichuan, Hunan, and these provinces, a lot of people were starved to death. And I know a story also happened in Shanghai. I'm from Shanghai, so I tell a story about Shanghai. 3,000 orphans in Shanghai, they could not have enough to eat. Then what to do? Then Shanghai municipal government just discussed with Inner Mongolia and just hope they could adopt these orphans. Then the Inner Mongolia people are very, very warm-hearted and very, I think they are very warm-hearted and very nice. They're really loving of kids. So the Inner Mongolian people adopt the 3,000 orphans. There is a serious film, it's called 国家孤儿. I suggest you to watch it. Very, very touching. And you see, even some Shanghai families, they could not feed their kids. They leave their kids at the front door of the orphan. So you could see during the more than 3 years for me, even in Shanghai, some people were starved to death. But at that time, Canada had a great harvest in wheat. So they just sent 2 people to China to see there any channels to sell their wheat. When they came to China, the year should be 1957, and at that time, everything is okay in China. But Shanghai, they just want to show their kindness. They signed some trade with these two persons and just bought some wheat from Canada. But when the starving years start in 1959, two sides. This is a long story. I can give a big lecture about it. A lot of papers and works just written about, discussing about this period of wheat trade or something like that. I will stop here. So this is a win-win game. And you know, during the Cold War, we two people have different systems. We have different ideology. Why we cooperate? And actually, it's a win-win game. I think the both sides just put the people's needs first. Because, you know, the three provinces in Canada, they have a lot of wheat. They could not sell it out. This is so terrible. So, and we Chinese lead the wheat. Then this is a win-win game. But I'd better say on China's side, we really appreciate Canada. Why? Because the other country, they didn't sell wheat to us, only Canada. So we really appreciate it. And even Premier Zhou Enlil says, you are our great friends. When the others do not sell wheat to us, grain to us, you say that. We will always remember that. We remember that. Even if it is a win-win game, we remember that. And you know, at that time, we could not pay it. You see? So the Canadian government, in the end, of course, there are a lot of discussions and some disagreement, agree and disagree, a lot of discussion and debate there. But in the end, they agreed to give us the loan with very low interest, even no interest. Even this, we Chinese could not afford it. Then we Chinese government discussed with the Canadian government and said, how about the silk? Not silk, how about the textile to Canada for kind of, we called just export textile to Canada, and then the money we can pay you. And Canada agreed. This is the time in the Cold War. You see that? 2 blocks. And also here, I want to say a few words about the Michikids because some individuals really contribute a lot. You know, sometimes some individual really can push things forward. Not only just the government officials, but only just some individuals. But here I want to mention the B.L. Trudeau, the father of Justin Trudeau. He went to China for twice. The first is in the year of 1949, just the PRC established that year. And and this is the second year. He went to China in the year of 1960, and with another guy. And when they come back, and they published the book just in French. Is the title is just 2 innocent people in the Red China, in French first, and then translated into English. But when the 30th anniversary of the two sides' relations, Shanghai People's Publishing House published this book in Chinese. And then I want to mention this, the Peking Opera, and this is the photo of the year. A photo of 1960, and this is also the visit during the Cold War Arranged by who? By John Small, Mish Kid. And then later, he became the ambassador to China. He arranged it. He did a lot of work, spent a lot of effort, and then make it working. But when this opera just visited Toronto, of course, they received some protest there. But it's okay. It's okay. Someone welcome you, someone will protest you. It's very normal. And also in the year of, in 1960, and the Global and the Mail just set up a branch in Beijing. They discussed in 1959, and then next year, they succeed. There is a branch in Beijing. So that the Canada Code sent out the news directly to the news, not only translate others. And also the Dongfeng ship, and this is, of course, was built up just in Shanghai. We say it is 中国人自己制造的东风号航船, and it's just sailed and ported, visited Vancouver, and in 1970, maybe just February. But the two sides agreed to have a Chinese ship to visit Vancouver here in November 1969, and then February the next year. All happened in the Cold War period. And a summary tour and the minimum tiles here. And if you want to get more information, I suggest you to read this book. And this book is already translated in Chinese. So you can read the red one. Why it is called 新开端, and if you read the English, you will find that it is reluctant adversaries. 不情愿的对手. Why we translate it into 新开端? Because when we translated this book into Chinese, and the author of the book, Paul Evans, just suggested the translator to translate into new beginning. Because everything changed. In the year of 1970, the two sides established the official relations. I will not read on, the time is so limited, and I move to the next. And why I just mentioned the special relationship, and also I put the four photos here, because the first two, you could see the first two are former ambassador to Canada. But these two just got the CCSEP. And the first one is Ambassador Lu. You know, he got the first year of CCSEP. He got his MA degree just from University of Toronto. And in 2006, he was ambassador. And then later, 2008 is the next person, also CCSEP receiver. And during their two persons period, Harper was very tough on China, but they worked so hard to try to smooth the relationship. Individuals really can work something. And then the next is Sarah Taylor, and also CCSP receiver, and she was once the deputy ambassador to China. And Tim Brooke, you know it well, and he is also the receiver of CCSP, but for the first year of CCSEP. He is well known, and even if I still remember he sent me one book is about quelling the people, just talking about the Tiananmen Square. He is very famous in China, and frequently he is invited to China to give some lectures. And for the CCSEP, and because this is the government level program, as sponsored by the first just by the Canadian side, later the Chinese joined in, and the Chinese just will pay the return tickets for the Chinese scholars. But the Canadian side will just pay for their Canadian scholars there. And can you just read the wide words there? We have a friend in American backyard. Mao does not, of course, Mao did not say these words to Pierre Trudeau, but he said this word to Premier Zhou Enlai when the two sides established the official relationship. And I refer to a dissertation, and this MS student is under me. She wrote a thesis about the CCSEP, but only just from the Chinese side, because we only could get the data from China side. We could not get any data about the Canadian side, about the CCSEP, their list names of their, the list of their names. And also I suggest you read this book. This book is very famous, and last year, last year, the book was published just last year. It's about the 50 years journey in Canada and China. Very good. And about other culture exchanges or programs, I suggest you just photo it down, because I do not have enough time to explain them. But anyway, you could see the people-to-people ties at the university levels, and of course some just at the local levels, a lot. You know, more than 30,000 colleges, college scholars or students just benefit from the different programs there. And here I only want to mention only one nonprofit organizations, but there are a lot of organizations really help the Chinese, not only just in education, but also in other areas. I only mentioned this one, and there is a journal here is called 文化中国, and already just over 100 issues now. And this is a journal also the Chinese scholars could get their papers published there. And you see, and this organization also helped the poorest student and the primary school and establish schools also in China. But you know, you could see that some foreign aids together with the developing aids just help the Chinese, help the relationship between between the two peoples. Okay, I would like to mention some twin sisters. Some people may just call it sister cities or friendship cities. And you know, during that time, the twin cities or provinces established there. Later, I will tell you why, what's their function in the two people's relations. And also some research from China fever to China fear. And you could see I think I have 2 minutes just for. Okay. I jump it? Okay, let's just move to, because it's almost 7:40, yeah. So let's just move it. And Canada quick response to June 4th is so tough, lasted for 4 years. And Canada is the first to issue the statement of sanctions, though Canada government does not want to call it a sanction, but measures. But it lasted for 4 years. But even during the 4 years, all the high-level exchange or talks just suspended. But still, there are some talks by bilateral talks under the table, and a letter to have you to look at all these. During the 4 years sanctions, and you could see the trade is still there, and some trades, 5 trades, contract just removed, but still there are some. And I suggest you to read these. You can, in July 1990, Pierre Trudeau met with Deng Xiaoping. See that? They really had some talk there. And also in January 1992, it's interesting thing is 3 MPs visited China to investigate human rights, but expelled at the Beijing airport. Different things. And also the post-cultural counselor, I mentioned that is Ruth. This is the 20 centers located at a university in China, carrying a shopping bag full of US dollars, no Canadian dollars, but US dollars, to help them buy books about Canada, try to expanding people-to-people links in education, culture, engaging Chinese legal scholars for collaboration projects. Yeah. A lot of scholars from CCSEP to Canada to investigate or to observe Canada democracy, how the democracy operates in Canada. And also in May 1993, Vice Premier Zhu Rongji, at that time he was Vice Premier, just visited Canada, and this visit is at the invitation just from Mulroney. And Canada called it China called it official visit, but Canada government said, no, it's not official. That's not use the word visit, trip. Use the trip, but not an official trip. Different notions there. But Zhu Rongji just showed a good China image to the Canadian officials. And later, when the Jean Chrétien came to power, he decided to visit China and start the 10 years of gold age. And also, interesting thing is the premier of BC suggests that all the premiers from the 10 provinces and the 3 from the territorials joined the prime minister's the team to visit China. So totally more than 400 representatives visited China. And later, they just held a grand ceremony at the Grand Hall of People's, just at the Tiananmen, 人民大会堂. Yeah, more than 2,000 people attended the ceremony. Yeah, they signed a lot of contracts there. And please, I invite you to take a look at Professor Ruth. She is still teaching at OSC, University of Toronto. Yeah, that's her to help China in the Canadian studies centers in China to move forward during the 4 years sanctions. And he wrote a lot of books about Canada. And the re-engagement and the golden decades. And during the Zhang trip to China, they signed how much contracts there, and they got what kind of, I just in white, and also the 4.6 billion and up to 5.5 billion. And then in 2000, the 20 billion in 2000. Increase so fast. And why I just gave the photo here is Qian 核电站, Canada 卖了2个这个 nuclear reactors 给了青山核电站来发电的，因为我们没有这个技术。青山核电站的很多的电就是供应上海的，上海的民用和公用的 这个电力都是来自于青山核电站 ，but cannot help us with these nuclear reactors. We never forget that. Yeah. And you can see that also the CETA programs. You see the developing Chinese, the include developing Chinese legal system, the training judges and lawyers and cooperative work in minority affairs issues, and even sending a Canadian church group to China to discuss religious matters. See? You see that? It happens. It happened. And this is the Chinese version about that. Yeah. And then also the twin cities and provinces, 20 totally. And you could say that. You could say even the 衡水市和贴森堡垒都有。哎，想这建立了这么多的这个 twin cities 干什么？ They really start the cooperation at the local levels. You don't know that. I will just take Shanghai for an example. This is a big city, but even a small city, they could start the cooperation at the local level. So this is the summary for this period of time. And I must say the human rights issue from a less Canadian priority into the center of bilateral relations after the June 4th. You know, we know human rights from Canada. After that, when Canada just says human rights, then we scholars are encouraged to do some research about human rights. And also we learned MBA, this term, from Canada. Because we don't know what MBA is. And Canada just told us what MBA is, and also human rights. Even now, some scholars are still doing some human rights research at different universities. And also Canada abandoned its romantic notion. It's okay, be practical, be functionalism. You know, functionalism is the philosophy of Canada. Why not? We should take up the functionalism. And also, Canadian studies in China suddenly flourished. And then university professors do some research about HR. And also trade and people-to-people relations are the priority of the two sides. The two sides agree. We focus on these two areas, the trade and also people-to-people ties. Just leave the government relations aside. We can just start at the people's level. So Harper's years, for the 3 years, Harper is, I should say, was very tough on China. And also he did this, did that. It seems that China does not like it. And then also Harper frozen the proposal of establishing the strategic partnership between the two sides. But in fact, in 2006, Harper really just did something good, and he said apology to Chinese Canadians for the head tax and Chinese Exclusion Act. He said sorry for that, and also by reimbursement of 20,000 Canadian dollars to the offsprings and the victims. This is what he did. Okay, and when in 2008, when Tibet, there is a rebellion in Tibet, and when Harper heard the news, Harper said, I will not attend the Olympic Games ceremony. No, he didn't. He sent a minister, Addison, if my memory is right. Anyway, he didn't come. And also bilateral dialogue suspended until the December 2009 when he paid his first visit to China. Okay, let's just move to the next, but I want to mention the special event first is the Sichuan earthquake. I want to mention the truth is Canada gave $75 million in assistance. Canada is the second largest contribution of any country. You know, even a lot of Chinese, they don't know. So each time when I give the lectures to my students, I tell them the truth. And the CEDA also 10 projects to help Sichuan people by building up the schools and also help to resettle all these homeless people at the schools and even the tents a lot. A lot of photo is just about the BC, about Vancouver, because a tribe just from the native people here, I noticed that Diane just mentioned that this area is by the native people here. And also this is the donation by the native people from the BC to Sichuan. And the special event two is the global financial crisis, and Canada was affected. And one person from the Canadian Ministry of Finance, when he visited our school, he told the truth that China saved Canada's finance issues. Why? Because China invested a lot to Canada, and including the investment and also including the immigrants and also investment immigrants. They carried a lot of cash and put them in the bank. So no bankrupt in Canada. So Canada, it's not we Chinese said, by Canadian officials from the government said that. It's China. You saved us from out of the crisis. So Canada is the only the country who was not affected by the crisis. And the next special event is the Beijing Olympic Games. It's very successful. Why I mention this? Because this is the turning point for China to change. Before the talk, I talked with an old lady. She told me that China changed a lot. Yes, when? What time? China changed. China changed just from 2008. Why? Because Olympic is one trigger. Because Olympic Games was very successful. And the Chinese feel so excited. Oh, we are so rich. How we can do this, such a, how to say, 世界级的这个 games so successful. So Chinese think we can change now. It's time for that change. Change what? In what way? Let's just move to the next. And then the first visit and also a second visit. And I just showed the second visit because China just sent two pandas. One is 大毛, the other is 二顺. I don't know why they call it 大毛 and 二顺. But anyway, if China decides to send one country the panda, it means we love you. Because panda is our lover. So we send the love to you means we love you. It's a way to express the way Chinese feelings to Canada. So when Harbour just visited Sichuan and the panda house there, that's the second visit. And the panda just sit on his knee. And then Harbour said, no, I don't want the panda to sit on my knee. And his wife said, okay, just sit on my knee. So take the photo. You see that? You can decode some meaning there. But anyway, forget it. And then we just moved to the Harper's third visit to China. And this visit, why I purposely picked out, because, Harper just want to come back to celebrate the Remembrance Day of December 11th, right? But the APEC was just held during that time in Beijing. So Beijing just discussed with Harbour again this and that, and then decided to start the APEC a bit time earlier. And Harbour just attended some kind of sessions, but then left early. It shows our respect and also our nice arrangement for Harbour. And also the I think I should stop here. And this is the one case I said the Shanghai 和这个魁北克城市他们是友好城市的时候，他们也在这个城市的这个 level 上面有很多的这个交往。So this is the summary tool. You can take the photo of that if you want. Okay, let's just move to the next. I jump it. And Justin Trudeau to visit to Canada, you see that? But Li Keqiang's visit to Canada. And also do remember, Premier Li Keqiang said, 中加历史文化背景是不同的。Li Keqiang understand all the difference between the two. And the split of the two sides now, why China changed and Canada changed too. But take a look at the trade. The trade is all okay, even during the pandemic time and the 3Ms. You can see it never down to the ground. You see that? And also the trade with China 2021 and 2022, you can see that. But China export more. And the Canadian export to China, and you see, it's good, some rising here. And import from China, those sudden downstairs. And import from China just this first quarter, and you see that the March is increasing, you see that? And also see that export and also increasing, you see. And I want to say the tour year of 2018, you see that? But you can see the numbers there. 2018 is how much there. But now down. 2020, only this. Okay, the advantage and the disadvantage in resetting to this is my thinking. So I just want to mention the disadvantage. Mutual trust fades away. Trust could never be built up within one day. I understand it. Roma is not built up within one day, but it could be destroyed within one day. And trust is the same. And the Canadian public opinion and the polls are not favorable to China. Red scale and Asian hate rise up due to 3Ms issue and COVID-19 and etc. In Chinese diplomatic preference, Canada is included in the fourth ring. Why I say fourth ring? China, US. The first, the US. The second ring is neighboring countries. And the third ring is developing countries. And Canada is just in the fourth ring. You can see that. And the vice versa. Canada to Canada, US is the first ring. The second ring is the EU, and third ring is India and like-minded. And Canada also, China is the fourth ring. You see? And both sides have no grand strategy, but technique as T's for T's and I's for I's. So future of people-to-people ties. Shall I say that? I think that the library door is going to close. Okay. Okay, I stop here. But personally, I have a positive opinion about the two sides, especially people to people. Because if we remember, the people are precious, the state is second, and the ruler is light. 民为贵，社稷 次之君为轻。And also, I prefer the word 风物长宜放眼量. You need to zoom in and zoom out. That's the way to resolve the two sides problems. But we Chinese love Canadians. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very